Hello, 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 and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jameelah, and I am a master manifestor, and I'm sure you are too because you are consuming content like this. The name of this channel is Holistic Manifesting because I believe in a whole body, whole mind, and whole being experience when it comes to manifesting these amazing lives that we are choosing. What I'm discussing in this video is generational curse breaking takes time. Some of us we are who we are since the moment we've landed on this earth, right? I was looking at my notes and thinking about how YouTube says I put up 500 and some odd videos, right? And some of my videos, a lot of them are private. So that's not even counting those. And I think about the little process that I go through before I create a video, and I sit down and make notes, and I go through picture, boxes sometimes, and I have like memorabilia in there, and I'll see like notepads from like videos I was making like 4 or 5 years ago on different platforms for like Facebook or something like that. And I was also looking at a journal that I've had since I was like 19 years old. It's a pretty journal, but the pages are filled up. But I like to look at it every now and then just to see what I was doing and thinking. And it had a lot of poetry in it. And it also had a lot of personal development, goal setting and stuff. And I was thinking to myself, like, what other 19 and 20-year-olds around me were like that? There weren't any. And I'm not saying people didn't exist, but it just wasn't in my space. So I'm a firm believer that we can't even avoid these things that are in us, right? Like I sit here and want to do these videos. It's not because I'm getting paid to do it. It's not because I have some vast audience and I need like the uplifting of other people in order to feel good about myself. None of those things are true. I don't even have a specific long-term goal except for expanding and growing and being a vessel for others when it comes to truth and expansion and personal development and personal power, and like being in alignment with the divine, metaphysics, law of attraction, using those methods to be like a master manifester and a co-creator in your life. Like, to me, those messages are huge. They changed my life when I heard them. And my goal is to hopefully it changes other people's lives, right? But like, we are who we are when we land on this planet. And I think our biggest goal when we get here is to learn how to manage those various aspects of who we are. Not turn them off, not get rid of them, not shove things down to where they manifest into something ugly or some bad behavior or something, but just learn to manage aspects of who we are and accept those aspects of who we are without shaming ourselves and beating ourselves up, and then deciding this is who I am, and then what do I have to bring to the world? How can I grow from here? How can I expand from here, right? So it leads me to think about things like generational curse breaking. Whenever we hear these terms, it's always made to seem like you are the curse breaker. You're the generational curse breaker. What people were doing in the last generation, you're going to go ahead and put your foot down. It's not going to happen in yours. And then y'all are going to move on and you're going to experience all the wonderful and beautiful things related to that. And then everything's going to be wonderful and fine until you get to your next curse that needs to be broken, right? And we call this in sociology generational patterns. But I like the generational curse breaking because it kind of, is a little more of a, what is it called? It starts with a V, a visceral approach to like radical change in your life, because the patterns are deep and they're strong, right? And so I think about things like even my own mom and like her goals and hopes and dreams for a lot of things that she wanted to accomplish and a lot of things she did accomplish in her lifetime, and how sometimes she had that it's always a very hard thing for her to see those particular things inside of her. Like, to see, you broke this generational curse, you broke that one, you broke this one, and like there wasn't a full recognition of it. And sometimes when we have these like huge shifts from one generation to the next, we feel like we're supposed to be experiencing all of the benefits of it because we did the hard work of breaking it. But this leads me to believe that the human experience is not necessarily about the individual in many, many ways. And that's one of them. We are a part of a much larger movement when it comes to our bloodlines, our generational lines. So while we may do all the work in one generation to have this one thing, we may never experience the fruits of our labor because we are the generational curse breaker, and sometimes the generational curse breaker does not get to experience the fruits of that labor. I told my daughter this once because I've written several books, right? And mind you, there's no doubt in my mind that these books are not going to be mass produced at some point, that these books are not going to be in the hands of people learning things and understanding the teachings in them, and then the nonfiction, the lessons in them, the fictional books, the entertainment value in them, the plot, the storylines, and and just being able to be a vessel for those things have been amazing. But with writing, I had to learn how to write commercially. It wasn't something I grew up with because I was raised in like Louisiana. And if you know anything about Louisiana accents and the way people talk, it's not necessarily the Queen's English, right? And so like many of me, and a lot of my accent, I feel like went away when I moved to Washington because I lived there for 4 years, and there are some proper speaking people up there, but they noticed me a mile away everywhere I went. And so my daughter's like, you still have an accent. Because I lived in Louisiana in like, almost 20 years at this point. And so when I think about that, I think about like all of the ways in which I wanted to grow and develop and expand myself. And writing was one of those big areas, but I didn't know how to write concisely. It was always like a stream of consciousness or whatever. So when I went to college and I took writing courses, I refined it over the years and it became so much better. And even to this day, I'm a firm believer. I'm a really good writer. I always feel that way, right? Like, oh, you're a good writer, right? My daughter, on the other hand, she got homeschooled. She came through an era to where she didn't grow up in the environments that I did when it came to language and speech patterns and all that. My daughters are very proper. That's the way that they speak. They always just have, right? And, they're a little bit annoying because they correct me sometimes, which I don't mind. I like to walk through the world saying the correct things. And so when I see her writing, like she wrote some short stories, of course, when she was younger. And I'm like, you are like a natural, automatic, perfect writer. Like, look at your imagery and the way one sentence flows to the next and the way the story is organized. And she's like, really? And I'm always telling her, like, girl, you are going to be a best-selling author one day. And, it's going to be just like when you look up people who are like famous for something, you go back and look at the parents, and it always was heading in that direction. The parents took it so far, and the children, because they broke a generational curse related to whatever it was that allowed them to flourish there, the children took it, 1,000 miles further. And that happened so much. And so we think about these things. We just have to remember that sometimes the glory and the magnification is not about you. Sometimes it's about your whole entire bloodline. It's about your ancestors. It's about the people that came before you and gave you the foundation, and it carried on from generation to generation. And even though you're in the process of breaking certain curses, there were curses that were broken the generation before yours. And then hopefully there'll be ones broken the generation after that, right? That's the goal. That's the hope. I was looking at a video the other day about Doña Letis, and I think I'm saying that right. It's a restaurant in Houston. It's a Mexican restaurant, and a lot of the imagery on it is really beautiful. When I passed it all the time, I was like, I don't know who that lady is on that mural over there, but whoever the artist was, that is amazing. And I've never gone to eat there, and people are probably going to say, you need to go eat at Doña Letis. And I hope I'm saying it right. But one of her sons did a video, and it was showing where she progressed from and what she brought them to and where they're now at. And I tell you, I watched the video and it put tears in my eyes. And it was like a 60-second video. She used to sell fruit from a fruit truck, and they showed the truck in the picture and the little umbrella hanging over it or whatever. And like she was in some sort of an abusive relationship or whatever. And she had the 3 kids. She raised them by herself. She started being at like the farmer's market. And then she went from there to like having her own food truck and started actually making food, not just fruit. Then they opened the first location. And once they did that, that's when she passed away. She had some type of a heart condition or whatever. And that was the end of her story. But her children was like, this was mom's dreams and hopes or whatever. We're going to keep on doing this. And they showed all the locations that they opened after that. And I think it's like 3 to 4 locations and like over 200 some odd employees. Phenomenal. And when I think about that, I was looking at it thinking like, man, if we could only be satisfied with knowing that we are shifting the trajectory, with knowing that we're putting our bloodline and our children in a better place, we wouldn't be so frustrated in life. the belief system and the ideas behind creating future generations that do better and better is more than enough to put us on the right trajectory. Because we see these sensational overnight success stories where people with a generational curse breakers, and they experienced all the glory of it in their lifetime, and they, got to, bask in it, and then be the person that gives out all the scholarships, gives out all the money. Everybody in the family looks up to them because they got to be that person. We think that that is the case for most. It is not the vast majority case, right? Many of us won't even see the end of some of the things that we're planting seeds for right now. I was thinking about the Great Wall of China and how many generations it took to build that masterpiece. The people that were there in the beginning, they didn't even get to see what the outcome of the Great Wall of China was. And then I think about my daughter's experiences of things and how I feel like I've broken a lot of generational curses when it comes to relationship wise. And this is nothing negative, but it's something that I see that plagues many of the households in which I derived. And it's not just my immediate, it's even other family. It's having a household to where the children have several parents in different places. And so it causes a bit of a strain on the environment, because this weekend, this one's going with this parent. This weekend, this one's going with that parent. And I've even seen situations to where one parent was completely absent and not participating in a child's life. And so this other child gets to go with their parent, the other parent, on the summers, go for Christmas and all that. When this other kid is like, well, why doesn't my dad or, mom, I'll be honest with you, it's been dads. It's not been moms in my experience, but whatever. Why does my dad not come and pick me up? And so one of those things that I really didn't want to do was have children for more than one person. It's just big in my life, right? And I don't know why it was so important to me, but it was just huge. And of course, my mom, I have half siblings, and I have, full blood sibling, and then and they're step to each other. And there's nothing wrong with that, because you create beautiful things in those type of environments many times. But for me, it was just very important. I was like, if my daughters are leaving for the summer, they need to be going to the same households. They need to be having the same last names. I just felt like it was super important. The goal was to have the long-term marriage and to pick the right partner and to have that work out that way. Although it didn't, my daughters have absolutely no problem with seeing trouble the way I didn't see trouble a mile away. They weren't raised in toxicity. They weren't raised in the environments that I was. They're not male focused and centered. And it's like any guy you'll do. My oldest daughter literally broke up with her boyfriend right before prom. And like her male centered friend was like, huh? What? You're not going to have pictures with him? It's not going to be like that. She was just like, he does not work in my life. Her words, not mine. He's not going to college. He doesn't have a plan for his life. And she was like, I'm over it at this point. I had no mind to think like that at 17 years old. Like, no mind to think like that. It was just not in me. So what I see for her in that space is, if she's going to be married with kids and create a life like that, she's going to be very clear on what she's expecting and what she's expecting a reciprocation to be, and creating that. And I'm not to say that it's always going to be perfect, but the consciousness involved in creating that life that she has is something that I do not get to experience. I've already created that life. I've already chosen what I chose. I've already had the children. I've already been divorced. I'm already past the point of even thinking about children. All I'm waiting for now is for Mother Nature to say it's not an option. But I'm over it. And I don't even look in the direction of small children. I'm like, I did that. I did it for many years. I was mommy, and so when I think about those things, I think about so many things they don't have to walk through. And so I could be sitting here bitter thinking, and I've seen mothers do this. This is why I'm having this conversation. Mothers bitter because their daughters were better chooser of mates, and they created households that were non-toxic, and they had financial freedom and abundance because of the mate that they chose. I would be crazy sitting here being upset about that. It's like, no. You're supposed to have that. Yes, when I think back, would I have wanted to be that little posh mom at home, having her needs met and having someone understand the value and the gravity and the weight of being a mother and what it takes out of you in order to do that well? Of course. But do you think I don't want to see my daughters experience it? It's like insane. Sometimes people have these environments where they've done something to break a generational curse, and then they don't even want to see their kids experience it. It's like, you got to understand that sometimes Generational curse breaking takes time. We have to not beat ourselves up over the things that we can't give our children today, and just believe that when they have children, they'll have those things tomorrow. We can do some things, we can't do all things, right? I was raised in a household where I felt completely safe 100% of the time. There was no physical, sexual assault and abuse happening. And I come from my mother came from a background where that kind of stuff ran rampant. And I can honestly say that's not something I had to deal with. And I've met so many women that deal with those sort of things, where I was in a household to where I could play outside all day, like nobody was looking for us in our yard. Our yard was like almost an acre large. We got lost in that yard all day, me and my brother. We played basketball in our own backyard. We had friends over. We even had chickens. We had a chicken coop, We had a back house with a pool table in it. Like, there was so many things that were afforded to us in the lifestyle that we grew up in that wasn't necessarily the lifestyle that my parents grew up in, right? So because you have a child like that that's able to be free, that's able to feel safe, that's able to feel like, you know what? I can kind of accomplish some things, right? Because that was my little mindset, because I didn't grow up with parents that had traditional jobs either. And so my mind was completely wide open in that space. So I was like, I can kind of create what I want. And so when we do that, we have to know that the children are going to benefit it. And you got to be able to be okay with seeing that, I didn't get this childhood, but look what I was able to provide for my children. I didn't get that experience, but look what they were able to have, Anyway, I hope I wasn't too excited in that video, but I just was thinking about this the other day. I was like, sometimes we beat ourselves up because we don't get to experience the things right off the bat, especially with financial freedom and stuff. My daughters think about money completely different than the way that I was raised thinking about it. My money management and money mindset has gotten way better in abundance over the years, but it didn't start that way. I was in survival mode when I came out of the household too, because that was just the mindset. With them, they've not been like that. My oldest daughter's been having a credit card since she was like 14 or 15 years old. I gave it to her and she literally doesn't use it without saying, hey, do you mind if I get gas for the car? Because she has her own car now. She's extremely responsible with it. Yesterday, she said, can I go get my car washed and vacuum? I was like, of course. And I'll see the little charge pop up on my phone. It's like she doesn't have this desire to just like, let's spend it all up and, and make bad decisions. It's not in her. And her mind is like, these things are abundant. I have access to it. I don't have to go out here and make a mockery of finances just because it's available to me. It's a completely different mindset. Like, money in this house sits around. And I grew up in a house like that too, where if it wasn't your money, you didn't touch it and it would just sit on the shelf. And like, I had one brother that would walk around and say, who does this belong to? It's not yours, put it down. But people didn't steal from each other in our household. So like, they grew up and it's just like, money's hanging around. It's like, who's this $20 bill for? And nobody can remember who it's for. Normally it's for the youngest because she doesn't keep up with money. But they don't even think about money the way I do, in the way of it's never being enough. They only think about it as like, when is my next cash infusion going to show up? And it's weird to see that, because I'm just like, I was fast food working by your age, and I was spending every check before the next one came. And the oldest one literally sits there and thinks, like, she has a friend that's always like, oh, can't wait till I get paid. She was like, you're out of money already. She was like, how do people have a job and know that they're going to get a paycheck in 2 weeks and spend all the money before the 2 weeks come? And I'm like, you're so naive. And I'm like, that's how most people are living in many of our, I was not crashing on her, but she honestly thinks like the logic doesn't work there. And I'm like, because you were raised a certain way and a generational curse was broken there, and you were able to experience it in a new way. And that's all you can hope for. That's all you can hope for, is that you are changing a trajectory. And if you get to experience it, that's like icing on the cake. Generational curse breaking takes time. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day.